All right. As I mentioned, we have special guest on the show, Ken Donaghy. So, Ken, thank you for being on the show today.
Hey, thanks. Glad to be here, Dylan.
Yeah. You're one of these guys that's like me when, I get to talk to you on Zoom, but then we got to meet in person at a coatings training, and you're a big, tall guy like I am. And so when I
Yeah,
saw you, like, oh, there's Ken.
yeah, yeah. We all look shorter on the screen, don't we?
Yeah. So before we get into your company and where you're headed and challenges and all that stuff, um, why don't we just give everybody a little bit of background? What's your company? Where are you located? What's your core focus in your business? Stuff like that.
So, good contractors, roofing and restoration out of Fort Worth, Texas, and our primary roofing target is residential roofing, and we do about 60% roofing and 40% reconstruction of damaged properties from fire, flood, storm damage.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. And
Yeah,
so how?
we rebuilt four houses last year from fire damage. One was pretty much take the top of the house off and put it all back together. We took it down to the concrete and studs downstairs. It was about 3,200 square feet, and rebuilt the entire thing. Brand new HVAC system, electrical throughout, plumbing, gas, the whole deal. And
Wow.
some, another one like that, but a smaller house, about 2,000 square feet, then some smaller. And then we've had some pretty large water losses from last year's frozen pipe events and putting houses back together doing that.
So you're a true general contractor. A lot of roofers in Texas call themselves general contractors, but it's really mostly roofing. Um, so how long have you been in the roofing business?
So I got into the roofing and restoration business in 2009 as marketing first, and then I was kind of salary marketing position, and I was handing the leads off to the sales guys. And I was like, "Hey, what are you guys making with?" And so I got into sales, and then I got into management, operations, general management with a couple different companies. Had great experiences, had some not so great experiences, as we all should have in the roofing industry. And then a couple years ago, went out on our own.
Oh, that's great. So you started your own business a couple of years ago. What was that like going from working for somebody else or for different companies over the years and then starting your own venture? Tell me about what that was like mentally to make that leap of faith and get going there.
Well, we really had an opportunity. We had a couple of large jobs come my way. So let me give some advice to the younger guys who might be looking to do that, because I know it's a popular thing to do, right? Work for somebody else and then jump out on your own. And especially in Texas, where anybody can start anything, it's the wild, wild west. And so a young guy can get out on his own, start his own business, and then ultimately many of them fail. Uh, I was doing at the end of my sales career with other companies uh, over $1 million a year, zero outbound calls, zero door knocking. Because I had laid the groundwork in marketing and branding companies as well as co-branding myself to be a person of trust. So when I did that, ultimately year in, year out, insurance agents, property management companies, realtors, repeat referral business. Um, I had just a lot of work come my way. And so finally just got to the point where it just made sense to, and it should truly panned out. My first year in business by myself, starting to grow a team, starting to grow the company, had over $2 million in sales my first year out on my own. And I just now in December hired my marketing person to start marketing the company.
Wow, man, that's great. And so where do you hope to, I guess, revenue wise, where do you hope to be in the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, I hope to grow a company 5 to 10 million. I really don't. Now, here's the thing. I'm not a spring chicken, right? So I went out on my own at 58 years old, and I'm going to be 60 this year. So I don't have aspirations of the $100 million a year company with 150 sales reps and all of that crazy stuff that is right on for the investment company that want to do that and all that. We've built a nice little company here. I now have a marketing person. I have office and operations person. I've got a construction project manager. Just hired my first sales manager who started last week, and we've got 9 sales reps.
Wow, man, that's great. You're delegating and elevating. That's how
Well,
you scale, getting the right people.
I know before we got on, you wanted to ask me a little bit about my background, so let me just kind of jump in there for the folks that might be viewing this. So I started out in high school. My first job was in the home remodeling business. I'm originally from, as a child, from Pennsylvania, but I wound up in Texas in my high school years, and I worked for Salado Home Improvements down in Salado, Texas, kind of little town down between Austin and Waco. So I was a gopher and took the pickup truck to Ace Hardware and got the stuff or whatever we needed. And we did some remodeling, and that's what I did, in the summers and on the weekends while I was in high school. And right after high school, I joined the Marines and did 24 years in the Marines. I went in when I was 17, retired when I was 41, and had a great career. I did a small amount of time at a civilian company in the Marine Corps. And after being out in the Marine Corps for many years, there's the tempo is kind of crazy when you're in what's called the Fleet Marine Corps. There's weekends, nights, duty section duties besides your regular duties, deployments that you're gone months at a time, all this. So after 9 years of that, I got stationed at this civilian company doing some analysis on an aircraft development program. And it was really wild because I was working kind of 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, no nights, no weekends, no deployments. And my wife said, "You need to go get a job." So we were walking through the mall, and there was a sign for at a jewelry store for a part-time sales guy. And I had never done sales. So I was like, yeah. My wife said, "You could do that." I'm like, "Sure, I could do it." So anyway, the name of the store was called Bailey Banks and Biddle. It was kind of the high-end jewelry store like a Tiffany's for the Zale Corporation. And so I went in there and I learned sales. I had a great manager. He was all about sales. I started to read books about sales, self-development stuff, leadership stuff, really kind of dove in. And 3 years later, I was the top part-time salesman in the Zale Corporation nationwide.
No
And
kidding.
yeah, so it was kind of cool. I was making more money part-time in jewelry sales than I was full-time as an active duty staff sergeant in the Marines. And so when I got ready to leave that duty, I called headquarters Marine Corps for my next duty station, and they said, "Where do you want to go?" And I said, "I want to go recruiting duty," which nobody does. And so I went out and had a successful tour as a Marine Corps recruiter. They asked me why I wanted to do it. I said, because I just fell in love with sales, and I know when I retire, that's what I want to do. So I had an aviation background, and all my buddies were going to Lockheed and Bell and L3 and other aviation companies around here in Fort Worth, DFW. And I launched out and said, "No, I'm not doing that, sitting in a cubicle with a couple of screens kind of, getting $75,000 a year. That's not my gig." So I bought the Dalworth carpet cleaning franchise for those from DFW. Dalworth is a 40-year-old carpet cleaning company here, and they had just started franchising. So I came home, told my wife, I said, "Hey, we're going $100,000 in debt with no guarantees of anything. Here we go." She thought I was a nut. And so we had our franchise for a number of years. It was a 5-year contract. That was in 2005. I retired. And then at the end of 2007, I had a tragedy. My wife passed away suddenly. And so I sold off my business. I became a single parent and took a job. And so I went to Boeing. I went to Bell Helicopter because again I had an aviation background in 2008, and then the economy tanked, and Bell, you know, everybody it was under 90 days. Um, Basically, they got met at the door with a box. They clean out your desk, don't log in your computer. It was nice knowing you. So,
Man.
and jobs were scarce. You know, everybody was kind of nervous. So I took an evening job for Greenwood Mount Olivet Funeral Homes, and I was selling pre-planned funerals door to door.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was wearing a suit, going to a door with a briefcase, and I did really well at it. And I kind of had a testimony because I had lost a wife suddenly, tragically, and we weren't prepared for that. So once I got in the door and I could share my story, there was a, you know, I could find people's, they could see my pain and I could feel their pain points and help them to resolve some pain. And it was a great product to sell too. So people who don't know that, you know, hey, here's a freebie, go get pre-planned. So, so anyway, I was doing that in the evening, and then the next year I was getting remarried. After 24 years of marriage, I was getting remarried, and she was working days, and I was selling pre-planned funerals at night, and that wasn't working out. So, since I already had a background in water, you know, all things water, you know, steam cleaning, then I got into water damage restoration, some of the mitigation pieces. I said, well, I'm going to go take a class on fire restoration with the IICRC. So I was in that class when I met a manager of Paul Davis Restoration, which is a nationwide franchise in the restoration, property damage restoration business. And I went to work for the Tarrant County office in marketing and sales, and I literally started laying a tape measure right there in the office of, you know, how to build build a room. If you could build one room, you can build another room. And basically go ceiling, walls, trim, windows, doors, floors, contents. Go to the next room. Ceiling, walls, trim, windows, doors, floors, contents. And you're writing all your scope notes of everything that you're rebuilding and what needs to happen here. And I didn't know a lot about construction. So I was the guy. I'm kind of a go-getter. So I was the guy. I took my cup of coffee in the morning, got to be to work at 8, 6:30 in the morning. I'm standing in Home Depot at that time, which had a library on how to do things, right, for the do-it-yourselfer. So I'm there with my coffee, reading books like, oh, how do you set tile? And difference between ceramic and porcelain and thin set and grout and dark grout sealer and, you know, tape bed texture, you know, seal paint, you know, all the different framing pieces when you're putting together. And I'm just reading books on construction. I didn't know how, I knew I didn't know how to do it, and I didn't need to know how to do it. I just needed to know how to sell it. So I would read books, and then I'd go out and say, oh yeah, so what we need to do is get a structural engineer. This is a load bearing wall. You know, in order to take that out, we need to put an LVL beam here. And, you know, I could talk on how to build a property and then bring in the trades to do it. And so I was with Paul Davis 2009 to 2015. It was dad owned a company. Son was the sales manager. Dad was a great business guy. Son was not so much. Dad sold the business to his son, went off into retirement. Son ran it into bankruptcy.
Oh,
So that
dang.
was, yeah, that was my first taste of the industry. When I show up, the doors are locked and they owe me 30 grand in commission, you know, going into bankruptcy. So left there, I went to be a sales rep at another company, and a couple months there, they just kind of looked at me and they were like, there's two younger guys in the company in Arlington, two good, really good guys. And we built their business. You know, we did a really good job. We took them from 2.1 million to just over 7 million in 2 years. I built their sales department because I went from sales. I was only there a couple months, and they were like, you need to be the sales manager, build this team and put in place processes, because I learned systematic systematic recruiting when I was in the Marine Corps, and then I owned a franchise, which is a system, and then I worked for a franchise, which is a system. So now I went to kind of the mom and pop first, my first stop, and they gave me the freedom and the latitude to develop a system in the roofing sales industry. So I did that. We built them from 4 reps to about 12, 13 reps, went from, almost 3 million to over 7 million in just a couple of years. And then, like the roofing industry, right? They don't want to pay. And I got found on LinkedIn by a headhunter. I became a sales manager at another roofing company of an all commercial roofing company that had a new owner and wanted to create a residential department. So paid me really well, got the company truck, the whole thing. He watched me for about a year, take them from 0 to just over 2 million in a year, build a sales team, put in place processes, sat in on every sales meeting. And at the 1 year mark exactly, he fired me and said, I got it from here.
Dang.
I was like, thanks. I appreciate that. So, hey, it's life, right? If I could go back and if I could go back, I'd shake his hand and thank him for firing me. Best thing that
So
ever
let's
happened
talk.
to me.
Let's talk about that because you could have responded 100 different ways to that experience, and you experienced some real life altering challenges before that, the passing of your wife, stuff like that. But there's something in you that just keeps focusing on the solution. So just walk me through your mindset when these things happen. Why is it that you can bounce back so effectively?
Well, if you're going to give me that platform, here we go.
And
So,
this is a leadership question here for everybody. This is
yeah.
something
Well,
any leader is going to face. If you're growing your company, you're going to deal with setbacks. You're going to deal with customers who don't pay. You're going to have sales guys leave. You're going to have these awful curveballs come your way. It's a part of
yeah,
life. But for you, Ken, as the leader that you are, how do you bounce back from that stuff?
Well, so let me go back very quickly, and I don't want to bore you or the audience, but I don't think it's boring at all. So I was raised in the projects in Pennsylvania. We were dirt poor. My mom was a party gal. She lost her parents when she was 14, was kind of bumped around. So through the course of me being raised, it was move all over the place. She had been married 5 times, not faithful in any of them, just a party gal. And at 17 years old, I had a crush on a girl in high school. And she wouldn't date me, but she invited me to church. So we went to church. I was 17. I was a junior. And without any religious background at all, not knowing anything, my deepest theology was, hey, when it's thundering, that's God moving around his furniture in the sky, right? That's all I knew as a 17-year-old knucklehead. But anyway, I walked into that little First Baptist Church in Salado. It was a Wednesday night service. I sat down in the pew, the pastor preached, and next thing you know, my eyes are leaking. And the Lord got a hold of me in a radical way, and I was saved. I became a Christian. I remember the night I went home and I told my mom I became a Christian, and this was her exact words: "You'll get over that." And
Wow.
I'm 60 this year, and I'm still not over him. And so that is my testimony. I seem to have an optimistic and eternal perspective on everything. Listen, a preacher said years ago, it always impacted me, said, life is short, death is certain, eternity is long.
That's
And
good.
that's all people got to remember. And here, I'll just read you something real quick. I just wrote this morning. I read through New Testament and a chapter a day, and then I have a text devotional that I have with friends and close people. And I was reading in Philippians chapter 1, and I said this about verse 12. Verse 12 caught my attention this morning. Paul said this: But I want you to know, brethren, that the things which happened to me, which Paul was imprisoned at the time, wrongly accused and imprisoned, he said, the things which happened to me actually turned out for the furtherance of the gospel. So that's the way I look at it. Everything I go through is for some good. There's something good going to happen out of this. And when you just have that kind of perspective on life, and I communicate that to my team, I had one guy who interviewed with me and said, yeah, my goal one day is to have my own business. And I said, I'm here to help you do that. You're going to need lots of experience. So let me be part of the process to help you get there, because you're not going to get there without doing this. Because I didn't get to where I am by just coming in the roofing in 2010 and doing absolutely nothing, and then in 2022 start a business in roofing. There's lots that happens between then and now. So that, I hope that answers your question. Of course, there's personal development things there. There's leadership things there. Zig Ziglar said many years ago, you're going to be the same person 5 years from now as you are today, the exact same person, with the exception of two things. One, the people that you hang around with, and two, what you're allowing to come into your mind through the things that you read, the things that you listen to. So I'm very careful about what I allow to come into my mind. God's word teaches, take captive every thought, surrender it unto Christ. So, when some negativity comes, I'm like, block. Because I've had some very difficult been fired from a couple of jobs, lost a spouse, those types of things. And you just kind of go, all right, what's this all about? And let's go find the path of good through it, because we are only going to live once. And
That's so good.
Death is certain and eternity is long. So decide these things. So I'm not saying it's that some of those things were not easy, and it wasn't easy, on my kids, stuff like that. So, but you gotta suck it up, buttercup, and you got kids to raise, and you got a family to take care of, and you gotta do what you gotta do. So job lays you off. It's like I look around and I go, oh, wait, I got a wife, I got kids, I got bills. Yeah, I'll sell your funerals door to door.
Yeah.
For sure. And nobody's hiring. And that was the thing about, let's just skip that part. But anyway, I did what I had to do. And you do what you have to do. So anyway, I got picked up after being fired after that 1 year stint by a great company here in DFW. I was with them from 2018 to when I left it a couple years ago. And I was their sales manager and did operations and built a team. And we went from, again, about 3 million to 5 million to 7 million to 9 million. We just kept the growth coming. And then there was just, again, things slowed down a little bit, and I get it. I'm the sales manager, and there was a call made to me like, hey, we might have to restructure you. We're not having the year that we used to have. And I go, hey, I get it. It's on me. So, but I'm not willing to restructure in the way that you want to restructure. So, and I told my new wife, Valerie, I said, hey, next time this roofing industry throws me a curveball, I'm going to hit it out of the park the way I want to. And I'm going to do my thing. Because I had the 24 years of Marine Corps leadership background. I have the industry experience, and nobody can tell me no. And off we went. And it's been a joy. I mean, my first hire was my son. And we work together every day. He's my office manager and operations guy. He's now ordering roofs and scheduling with crews and all that kind of stuff. And then my wife, who was an insurance agent for the last 7 years, just retired from that, and sold off her agency. And she's now the marketing director. So I'm working with my family, and it has been a joy.
That's awesome. So I'd be interested to get your take on your background with the military and what leadership principles did you carry over that have helped you run a successful roofing business from your time in the military?
Yeah, so the culture of the Marine Corps is such that, and I saw it so clearly when I went to the civilian contractor after spending 9 years as a young Marine growing up. And that is, a Marine is either going to get transferred, die, get out, or retire. But either way, he's not sticking around forever. And we are taught in the Marine Corps the culture of, you better train the guy behind you. You better give all of yourself and invest it into all of them, because they are your replacement, which is completely counter of what happens in the civilian community. When I went to the engineering community at Boeing Space and Defense Group, and we were working on the development of the V-22 Osprey program when it was first coming out, and it was still on the assembly line. And I would sit in the engineering community and I'd watch these guys my age now, 60-year-old engineers in their cubicles, and they weren't sharing anything with anybody because that was job security, where every Marine's passing along to every Marine. So, and the Marine Corps' mission or motto is, mission accomplishment and troop welfare. Make your mission regardless of the circumstances. You got a mission ahead of you attack it with dogged determination. And you take care of your troops while you do it, because the troops are what's making the mission. So that is probably the greatest thing that I've carried over into the civilian world, and a little bit of sense of humor. Everybody asks me what I miss about the Marine Corps. I said, you civilians, you're so serious. Everybody's serious everywhere. And I said, there's nothing like a bunch of Marines sitting around yucking it up and just laughing, and everything is funny. Everything. So anyway, I just missed the laughter. But
Man,
that's
that's
really what
great.
it is. It's set the mission out in front of you, strive to chase the dream, set your goals, make your plans, all that stuff, but just get after it because you got a mission, and take care of the people around you. So, and then that's kind of on the Marine Corps side, and then on the Ken's personal side, the Ken's heart side. My life verse for many years has been Psalm 37:3, which says, "Trust the Lord and do good." And that's why we have Good Contractors, Roofing and Restoration. And that's on my trucks and everything. It just basically says, inside my company, with my staff, with my sales reps, with my customers, with my trades, we're going to do good. We're just going to do good. We're a small company, a couple years old. We're debt free. I have a philosophy, biblical philosophy of reaping. You reap what you sow. One of the frustrating things about the industry that's been frustrating for me where I've been is the owners and the leadership of roofing companies play games with money. It's no secret out there. Reps get paid last, and I've seen subcontractors standing at the door on a Friday morning waiting for it to open for a check that's not there. I've seen reps I thought I was getting this. Oh, there's this whatever holdback or this charge, or not get paid at all. Ridiculous. So I have a 48-hour rule. An invoice hits my desk, 48 hours later, it's paid. The subcontractor's invoice, 48 hours, he's paid. Reps, their job reports come in at the end of a job, they're paid that day. Not wait till Friday. If it comes in on a Wednesday, the job report, they're paid that day. Everybody's paid instantly. And here's the amazing thing about that. I outsource my accounting department. And so every month that we meet, we go over accounts payable, accounts receivable. He said, my accountant says, now my accounting firm does accounting for other roofing companies. He goes, you got a crazy AR. You have none. People just
Wow.
don't owe you. People don't owe you money. What do you attribute that to? I said, because I pay everybody instantly and it just comes back around to me. So I
Man,
don't have
that's
a problem
good.
with that. He was like, here's a funny story. He said to me, you don't have to pay everybody so quick. I mean, take the 30 days, put it on their due date, all of that. I'm like, no, it comes in, it gets paid. EFT, send a check with a credit card. Every Friday, the American Express card for everywhere is whatever, 20, 30, $40,000 gets paid off every Friday. He said to me, uh, well, you don't have to pay everybody. I said, okay. His name's Ray. I said, okay, Ray. So send your invoice and I'll pay you in 30 days. He goes, oh, no, 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 no. You don't. Hey, if everybody else is getting paid, I'm getting paid.
Oh man, that's funny.
So, yeah.
Well, that's really neat. I think your unique background is obviously playing a big role in the way that you train people and the way you see people working for you, and you clearly want to help them achieve their goals and dreams. What's and I love the fact that your anchor is in Christ. It's in the Bible. I'm obviously right there with you. I don't know what I would do without that. I don't know what compass I would have
Mm-hmm.
without my personal relationship with God in the center of that compass, and from that flows my north, south, east, and west. And um, so I totally get that. What has been one of the coolest things you've been able to do? Because I know that's your heart. What's been one of the coolest things you've been able to do for somebody else now that you've got your own business? You've got a little flexibility in how the company spends money. Um, what's a situation or a story where you stepped in and saw a need and met that need that somebody had?
Well, we just like to take care of people. So there's been smaller events. I think a couple of the things that stand out. We do a free roof. Every Christmas time. Um, last year we were able to do it for a widow that she had bad 3 tab roof, lots of wind damage. Got called out there on leaks and squirrels chewing into the siding and squirrels in the attic. It was just a mess. And we were like, she called in a claim a number of times. It wasn't happening just because it was just wear and tear type stuff. And her claim was denied. And so I it prompted me to go, well, I would love to give her a new roof, but I just want to make it fair to everybody. There's a lot of needs out there. So we did a little competition of, hey, we're giving away a free roof. We put it out online and we said, here's how the competition's going to go. Just email us, tell us your story, tell us your need. And really it's going to be the one that's the most compelling and one we feel that is the greatest need. She still came out to be the greatest need in our heart, so we got her a roof. And then this year, one of my sales reps was out, canvassing, and he knocked on the door, and this. He said she was probably 50 years old or so, and screaming like a banshee. Anyway, mental health problem, situation. The mom, who was in her probably 80s, late 70s, 80s, finally came to the door and said, yeah, that's my adult daughter. She's got some mental health things. And anyway, she had started a fire on smoking on the back porch, and it caught the entire back patio on fire. And they were able to get it out. And she thought, the homeowner thought, that she would be in trouble if she called her insurance company um, for this happening. For what, I don't know what her complete logic was, but that's what it was. And so anyway, this was a couple of years ago. So anyway, we came across this huge back patio, fascia and the soffit just hanging down, lots of water damage. The roof had, the peel and stick roof had already been peeled way back off, exposed decking. It was just a mess. And so one of my reps said, and he's a believer, Denny, and he just said, "Hey, is there anything we could do here?" And I said, "Let's take a ride over." So we took a ride over. I looked at it. I go, "Hey, we just found our project." I gave her a big hug and said, "Hey, we're going to take care of this. It's not going to cost you a dime. Merry Christmas."
That's
So
awesome.
it's great. It's just great to do things like that, for people who have a need. And, and true religion is this, right? Taking care of the orphans and the widows. So
That's
that's kind of
right.
our heart.
Man, that's good stuff. So, so this is my last question. What's one thing that you, and hate may be too strong of a word. What's one thing you dislike the most about running a roofing business, and what's one thing that you love the most about running a roofing business?
So this might seem like overly optimistic, but I don't have anything that I hate. I mean, I literally wake up every morning like, yeah, let's do this. And again, just hiring a sales manager, and we just brought on 4 new sales reps. And these guys are coming from the other companies in the DFW area, and they're blown away by. They said, "Wow, this is so professional and so." And here's my thing: I'm very. You can tell in this conversation, anybody who spends any time with me, I'm just a very transparent person. I share my heart, I share my thoughts, I share my advice, and share my story. Um, and that's just how I've been. So I really don't hate anything. I don't. I really. I'm around my family all day. Um, it's not caused any conflict. Um, and the thing I love the most is probably the same thing. Doing this with family, knowing my son who lost his mom at 11 years old, who's now 27, going to be 28 this year. And, I've got an exit strategy of the next 5 to 10 years, 65, 70 years old, and I'm molding him. And the sales manager that I just brought on, he's been through some rocky roads in the roofing industry. And I know him from a previous company. And I said, come here, you know, let's, because I know my son's more introverted and this and that. And then I've got the sales manager that's, he's a Marine. My son was a Navy corpsman, and, uh, it's just all coming together really well. So I wake up every morning just uh, loving what I do.
Man,
So
that's great.
trust the Lord, do good.
That's such a gift. I mean, a lot of people can't say that, and um, but a lot of that is a choice to enjoy. You don't wait for joy to be delivered to your doorstep like a present from some company. You really have to decide to be joyful and to be thankful and to wake up counting your blessings, and all of a sudden you're having a much better day.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, um, the best investment you could just make is in yourself. The best project that you can manage is yourself. So take charge of that thing. Hey, listen, when I bring on a sales guy, I say, listen, you're a sales guy selling a sales guy on a sales position. Don't do that. Go sell yourself on yourself in the mirror. You don't need to sell me. You could talk it up all day long. But the reality is you got to get up, look at that guy in the mirror and say, you know, and my deal is this: if you've ever read the book Go for No, get it.
No.
If there's a sales guy watching this video, read the book Go for No, because it's a sales guy who falls asleep and he wakes up 10 years in the future and he meets this uber successful self in the future. And he's like, how did you get here? And it's the life lessons of 10 years of how he got there. So his self 10 years in the future is telling him, okay, you're going to come across this. You got decisions to make. Take this one.
Oh, that's good.
It's a,
No, that's
it's a
good. Go
great,
for No.
great
I
story.
haven't read that.
Yeah. And it's super quick. It's a small book. The audio book's probably 40 minutes. It's just a
Okay.
story.
That's
And
good. No,
so,
that's really good. I'm going to have to check that out.
yeah, so I share with my team as part of my leadership is listen, how old are you? I ask everybody, how old are you? How are you? My son, how old are you? 27. I said, make sure that your 37-year-old self looks back and says to the 27-year-old person, thanks.
That's good.
You did some good stuff. Because you don't want that 37-year-old to look back at that 27-year-old and go, what the heck?
No kidding.
What were you thinking? What were we doing? So
That's
that's
good stuff.
good stuff.
Well, Ken, we could go on talking like this for another hour, I think. It's been a real
Yeah.
pleasure just talking life and business and leadership and spirituality with you. What's one parting piece of advice that you would have to encourage any other roofing owners listening to this before we wrap up?
Psalm 37:3 says, trust the Lord and do good.
It's pretty simple,
Few
but not
words.
easy.
Oh, yeah. Try it.
That's good.
There you go.
Trust the Lord and do good. It's good stuff. Well, Ken, really appreciate you. Glad to have you in our group and Limitless, and appreciate you making time to be on the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for being here, and God bless you.